What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Deal Flow Live. On this show, we look into all types of deals. We look at often live businesses for sale, sometimes involving real estate. And we've actually got a really extra special treat for you tonight. We've got Husain on, the founder of ROI Finder. He's going to be talking about real estate investment deals with his platform that actually specializes in being able to identify real estate investment opportunities. Again, I'm one of your hosts, Brody Vinson.
I'm your other host, Ryan Santor. I am super excited to have Husain here tonight and show this really crazy cool platform off.
Yeah, it's a really sleek, clean platform, and I think you guys are going to get a lot of value out of just seeing what types of opportunities you're able to find on it and how it's able to streamline the investment process if you are getting into real estate investing. So, Husain, I would love to hear a little bit from you just about, your background, what led you to founding ROI Finder, and how you got into this.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. I'll go back a little bit. And thanks for having me, gentlemen. I was a bank manager for 7 or 8 years, retail bank management, and I hated working for other people. I'll be very frank, and I don't need to talk down anybody who does that. And I get it. Some people are comfortable where they are, but I had a hard time doing that. And so after a certain amount of time, I went ahead and said, okay, I got my real estate license. I got into real estate, and I was doing well at the bank. I was making a good salary managing, but again, it just wasn't my passion. What I realized was that real estate is. And so we're talking about March of 2014. I got my real estate license. I sold one deal to an investor that year because I was working full time. April, May of 2015 rolled around, and I was at my breaking point. I was like, I gotta go. And my wife supported me a lot, actually. She was 6 months pregnant at the time. So we've got 3 months till this baby shows up. I'm making, a good amount of money for a 28-year-old or 28-year-old at that time, which was 10 plus years ago, knocking on 70K. And I'm like, okay, with benefits. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to leave this and go commission only and go work for me. And she really encouraged me, really pushed me. With the baby on the way, I left the bank. And so I ended up selling to investors. I had to sell to investors because they were the fastest deals to get done, the quick cash deals. So now I leave the bank. I've got a little bit of money in savings. I got this baby on the way. And so I'm calling my friends who I know have some money. And I said, listen, guys, in my community and my mosque and my local community. And I say, I see there's deals out here. At the time in Orlando, condos are 20K a pop, 25K a pop. So you're talking, an ideal ROI, right? And what I realized that it was a very tedious process. So I'd go on Zillow or MLS at the time to find the deals, right? Which MLS is great, but then I'd have to go to an Excel sheet on the side to analyze the deal, send it to my customers, and you're talking about adding different, platforms and having to go to 10 different places in order to analyze your rental income. And I realized at the time that this is very tedious. This is a very annoying way to find investment properties. And I got these guys who all, a lot of them have their own businesses or they work for somebody and they don't have the time to seek out investment properties. And so they'll come to me as their agent. Time goes on, I keep selling to investors, and then the idea dawns on me like, there's a problem here. We have an opportunity, a gap where investors need to be able to find properties a lot easier. Instead of using 10 different platforms, one platform where you can find your fix and flips and you can find your rental properties and find portfolios and things of that nature, not to drone on and on. And so that was kind of the inspiration. That was the inspiration for ROI Finder, was to make it easier for investors to find these properties.
So it sounds like you saw a problem in the market. You saw a problem that you were having yourself, something that was causing you a lot of struggle, kind of holding you up in your process. And you decided you wanted to solve this problem by creating a unique solution with ROI Finder. So I would love to, see ROI Finder a little bit, dive in on it, and just crawl around the platform a little bit and look at what it looks like.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll show you guys a little bit of what we got going on here. The beautiful thing about ROI Finder is there's a fix and flip category, a buy and hold, and joint venture as well. So if I can go ahead and present that real quick, we'll go from there.
Yeah, let's do it. And by the way, thank you for diving in on your story. I think one thing that really stuck out for anyone who's tuning in as he's pulling things up here is, he identified something about himself, which was that he didn't like working for other people. Not that that's the case for everyone necessarily, but he identified something honest about himself and decided to go take action on it, but in a very strategic way. Um, and so I think for anyone who's in that position, who's thinking about doing something like that, it's good to be able to take inventory of where you're at, the skills that you've developed, and the opportunities at your disposal, and put together a plan and execute it that way.
Absolutely. Fear, and I know this is what your guys, I'm sure, talk about. And with Deal Flow, it's about deals. But thank you for highlighting that, because the one thing I've told so many people, I have a cousin who very close with, who lost his older brother, and so we became like brothers. And I always share with him that it's like fear, right? Fear holds you back. Fear holds you back. Fear holds you back. And so you gotta listen. I get how hard it was, man. I had, maybe at the time, I was young. I was a little bit more risk take. I wasn't risk averse. I was ready to take risks. So my wife being able, the one who pushed me, with 3 months to 4 months in savings, with a baby on the way, I'm losing my benefits. It's a lot, but sometimes you just have to not something, you got to grab life by the, and just do it. And we don't throw shit at a wall and see what sticks, excuse my French, but we like you said, you got to strategize a bit. And things, we make mistakes, and I've lost money and I've made money, but it's been a hell of a journey. You know what I mean? So 10 years, if I look back, I go 10 years. That's amazing. 10 years working for me almost. And it's a dream, man. We have our hard days, but it's a dream. But anyway, I'll go ahead and share the platform with you, but I don't know if you guys can see that, right?
Yep. Yeah, it's coming through clear on this end.
Perfect. So this is just the homepage of ROI Finder. So when you get here, as you can see, not to be cliche, but it's finding investment property made easier. This was the whole goal from the very beginning. It's for people who want to invest, whether you're a novice, whether you've been in investing in real estate for a long time. You still got to go to Zillow and Realtor and find listings and call your agent. And if you have an agent, even better, call them. But typically when you're browsing for a home, you're still going to browse online and then send it to your agent. So the point of ROI Finder is go ahead, browse, find that investment property. So when you get to ROI Finder, you'll see the different categories of fix and flip, buy and hold, portfolio sales, and JV networks. So I've already got it preloaded here. One of the examples of a buy and hold here. The beautiful thing about ROI Finder is everything from the MLS in Central Florida and Tampa is already pre-fed into the site. We're already getting the feed from the MLS live. And then, not to bore you guys with the details, but there's a calculator on the back end, an algorithm working on the back end, which gets a rent estimate from another calculator that's out there on the internet and plugs it into the site. So as soon as you go to the site, it gives you an estimated gross ROI, an estimated net ROI, and it does the numbers for you. And so this is one of those things that my clients were like, how much am I going to make? How much am I going to make? And so here you can see that this property at 169.9, a 2-1, estimate rents for about 1630, which is pretty accurate. And you're going to gross about 11.5%. And it shows you your net annual cash flow. Obviously, there's other information that you have to, input. So I'll show you the calculators real quick. And here's the thing is, we don't compete with the real estate agents. I don't know if you saw the agent's name, Joe Tart, if it says his name, because we want you to call that agent directly and say, hey, we're interested in this property. We found on ROI Finder. Here's where it's located. Can you tell me more about it? Let me scroll down here. I'm sorry, guys. On my end, there's a little bit of a lag. So when I'm scrolling, it's doing a little bit of a funny thing here. But I'll get to the calculator in just a second.
If you want, I could try to share it from my end and see if that's
up to you. I mean, sure.
A little bit faster. Let me try that.
One of the cool things he's pointed out so far, besides the site itself and all the integrations that have gone into it to make it as accurate as possible, is that it is simultaneously supporting investors in the community as well as real estate agents in the community. So it's kind of it's a very collaborative and cooperative thing that you've built here to give everybody more opportunities to make money.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm an agent myself, so I didn't want people to compete with me, right? And so when I presented this to agents a few years back, the first thing I told them was like, guys, we're not here to compete with you. We want people to see your listings. We want people to call you because you guys are presenting these properties as somewhere to live. Well, no, let me present it as somewhere to invest in. You don't have to do that homework. I've done it for you.
That's awesome.
That's great. So it looks like I was able to get it pulled up here. Is it scrolling around well for you guys?
Let me
Yep.
Perfect. Now you might have to log in, Brody. It might ask you to do that. I don't know if you already did. If it's grayed out, you might have to create a login. But if you guys can see it on mine, I can do it too. Sorry for the complication.
That's okay.
Oh, let's show them the.
Looks like I
show 'em
can.
how easy it is to make an account on ROI Finder.
Very easy.
Yeah. Wow. It took less than 30 seconds, and now you're on ROI Finder. Incredible.
So let me go back to the homepage here. So what's the best place to start here? You wanted to look at a buy and hold deal, right?
Correct. So let's go to the buy and hold. Yeah. And then you can click any one of those. The 169.9 that should pop up.
You think this is a good one to look at?
Yeah, absolutely.
So this is a condominium.
Mm-hmm. There you go. Yep. I'm gonna close this on my end.
Let me try refreshing here. See what we're looking at. It's just loading all the ROI, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, that's what it's doing. Yeah.
Here we go.
I told Ryan, I said, as soon as we want to do it live in front of everybody, it's going to take its sweet time, but that's normal.
So do you want to kind of walk us through some of these key metrics and what we're looking at here?
Yep. So I was sorry on my end it was lagging, but again, so when you get to this page, it's live from the MLS, right? So again, we have that back end calculator, which throws in the estimated rent. So if you look at the key metrics, third one down, that comes in from a third-party rental estimates. It's actually pretty accurate, right? So for 2-1 in that area, that zip code, yeah, that's pretty accurate for 1630 for rent. At the same time, it gives, if there's HOA fees, things of that nature, it'll throw that in there too for your overall expenses, okay? And it gives you a net monthly cash flow based on that. But the beautiful thing about this is, let's say right now, we're in a half buyers, half sellers market because, you know, rates are higher, but we're not going down 10% in values or 12% in values, maybe about 5 or 7. So if you go down, Brody, and you'll see there's a calculator there. So we're saying that the price is 169.9. If you go to the calculator, you can type in that, okay, I'm going to pick this property up for 160. So it's very simple, very elementary. But the thing I hear the most from investors is like, wow, I like this tool. So if you type in 160 over there, your closing costs are estimated 3%. So that 50.97 is already input there from the 169. But let's say it's, you know, $4,800 for your closing costs.
Oh, so let's see.
And then the rent, yeah, I think it was saying 1630. Yeah.
1630.
Mm-hmm.
And how about estimated repairs?
Yeah, so we could stick to $1,000 on the estimated repairs.
How about renovation?
That one looked ready to go, so I wouldn't spend much money on it. I'd say call it $2,000.
Nice. And then do I want to leave these the same?
So these are grayed out, but let's see if you just type it in. So the closing costs I put around 4,800. The HOA fees here we're gonna put the 600. And the annual property taxes, it's saying 1,000, but I would just say 1,800 because, you know, by the time you buy and sell, it's going to update and reflect. It'll reflect that though, obviously. And then the insurance, these are using insurance numbers that, you know, pre-hurricane. So, you know, I put $800 or something like that because it is a condominium at the end of the day. And then if you want to, the vacancy. So some people calculate the vacancy as 5% because at 2-1 you're always going to be rented. So I would keep it at maybe, you know, 5% is fine.
Perfect. And then just hit calculate.
Calculate, yeah.
Wow. And then you get the estimated net ROI cash, and cash flow.
Correct.
Very cool.
That looks like a very good deal.
Yeah. So, you know, it's not bad. I mean, people, you know, some people aim for that. I've had investors who are like, I would never touch a 4. I want to be at 10. But then, you know, you go to the bank and you're getting 0.10. You know, so for some people, they would say, you know, this is the kind of deal I would do, or I'd have to pick it up at a closing price of 140, and that ROI works better for me. And the beautiful thing though is that whether 4.67 for you is a good deal, like for Ryan, he likes that. As somebody who's doing this for 10 years, I'd say, well, I don't know if I want to spend 160K for that, but let me mess with the numbers a bit. Then I call the agent and say, look, I'm running the ROI, I'm running my numbers, and this is where I want to be for this. But the point is that this platform gives you the ability to do that off the bat. There's no lagging on that end.
Oops. Looks like. Oh, there we go. It was just calculating. So
Yeah.
it looks like if I adjust it, then
Yeah.
it adjusts the ROI in real time as well.
Exactly.
Very cool. So if I was to go down to, let's say, 130 and recalculate,
Mm-hmm.
then all of a sudden the ROI jumped up a little bit as well.
Correct.
That's great.
Yeah.
This is way better than trying to do this on an Excel spreadsheet with Zillow open.
And you've already done the legwork for some of these deals that are listed as well. So this is for someone who wants to go find active opportunities, but also who has maybe off-market opportunities that they want to run themselves.
Exactly. So if you go to the fix and flip category, now there are obviously off-market wholesale deals that are rental, obviously, but a lot of them, majority of them are your fix and flips in this game here, right? So obviously there's a bunch of off-market rentals, but you're talking about multis and things of that nature. But regarding the fix and flip, that's the next category I go to. I threw up one up there sample because we're, obviously with this platform going through relaunch, and we're a startup. But I would definitely check that one out in the fix and flip. There's one over there that will a prime example of something that I actually went under contract with. So I would hit the arrow on next to fix and flip, next to ROI tools there at the top.
There we go. This one right here.
Yes, sir. There you go.
Wow. So this is a single family residence, and it looks like we get clicked in here. I might need to refresh. Oh, here it goes. You want to break down some of these numbers for us?
Absolutely. So this is something as a fix and flip. This was off market kind of deal. So this is something where I input the numbers on my own. So it's 215. The estimated renovation on this was about 50K, and the resell is 330K. The beautiful thing about this is these numbers are input by a wholesaler, right? Now, a lot of times we say, okay, the wholesalers are inflating the numbers a bit, so I'm going to put my own numbers, and that's where the calculator helps when it comes to the fix and flip. And so if you go down, sorry, it has your pertinent information on top: 3.2, about 1,200 feet, built in 49, your estimated buyer closing cost. And this one, again, if you scroll down for the fix and flip, it's a little bit different than the buy and hold, and this will show you that what are the different expenses. So if you can take a look at that real quick, and then let's see. So your closing price, let's say you're going to pick that up at 215.
How about the renovation?
On this one, we can keep it. Let's say this one let's say the renovation goes to 65 for whatever reason. It's a $65,000 rental. And then at the end of the day, you end up getting 315 instead of 330 because the market's done a little bit of a shift,
And then how about the closing costs?
I would stick to the 7,000 that was above there.
And selling costs.
And then the selling cost on 315 is about $15,000 when you go and resell the property.
There we go. So about a 4.53% ROI with $13,000 in cash for that deal.
Right. And that's, again, maybe for some people not too strong, but then let's see if we do the numbers here: 215, 222. Yeah. Now, if we go back to our original, if it was a 50K deal, 50K renovation, and a $330,000 expected sales price.
Now we've got a pretty nice ROI there. We've got almost 16% ROI with 43K in cash profit.
Yep, exactly. And the beautiful thing, by the way, guys, side note on a flip is that, if people are going to do a flip, they want to be at 14%, 12%. Something that I've always encouraged people is that don't be so fussed about the percentages, in the sense that if you're not making that number, that 4%, we wouldn't do that, right? On a flip, we want the rental to be at 50, and the expected sales price to be 30. We just had 30 grand there that we just made back, right? If you were to make, and this is some advice, 9%, 10% on the flip, remember that flip should be done in 4 to 5 months. So remember that you're making that 9 or 10% in 4 to 5 months. So your annualized goes up to 18 to 20%. Always think annualized. And that's what I teach people that call me and say, hey, I want to flip properties, but I realize I'm only making X. And I go, you're not only making X, you're making X in 4 to 5 months. Go put that money in a mutual fund and see how much you're making. You're making 7% of the year. So even if you were to get that 4.5% crap return, you're making 9% on a year, almost 11% on the year. So it's always a different way to look at a real estate deal. Is what are you getting annualized?
We're getting a
Interesting.
ton of game here. Like this is real high level stuff. This is not stuff that I've really heard people think about when they talk about real estate investing. So
Appreciate
No,
that.
this is great because we look at all kinds of deals on this show. A lot of times it's business deals and there's a whole separate set of considerations.
Yeah.
What I like about this tool so much is how it just simplifies the decision making so much. If you've got a deal, you plug your numbers in here and you can tell almost immediately whether it's a deal you would want to take, right? And
That was the whole goal. Yeah. Yeah.
and I know a lot of times, like I have a friend who runs his entire flipping company. He basically will he'll go find opportunities and flip houses to hedge funds.
Yeah.
And that's how they look to see if they can get a certain percentage return, and that's whether they make the decision or not. So
Absolutely.
for someone like that, this would speed things up incredibly fast. They're just
Yeah.
able to plug things in constantly.
And if I could interject for a minute, so when I was showing this, my goal again, and I'm very grateful to be only showing the connection that was made to get on this show to Spencer, is that a lot of people came to me. They were like, "Well, why don't you pitch this to hedge funds? Why don't you pitch it to those companies that do this internally?" There's a couple companies out of Miami, a couple companies out of New York that they would love this tool internally. I said, internally they have their analytics. There's guys, all the suits there are doing their numbers internally at whether to buy or sell. I have flipped properties to hedge funds too after they've been renovated for rental, for them to get rental income. I'll go and I'll put it for $350. They'll offer me $335 cash, but they'll close in 2 weeks. I'm like, okay, I'll take it because I got no headache, right? And so this is not to sound cliche or corny, but the sincere belief for me is that how do you gentlemen, how does some lady out there who wants to invest make a decision fast? If I sell this to a hedge fund as a startup, that'd be great, but no one's going to benefit from that, right? This is how people go and make decisions. It's like Amazon and things of that nature. And I by no means am I comparing to that as far as a startup is concerned. But what happened is they made life simple. They made life very simple, right? Even Target Drive Up. It sounds so funny, but it's simple. You go, you pick up, you get what you need. You have the data on your app. I need this, and I grab it. And that's the point of this. It's for the consumer that I'm grabbing the data. So yeah, I could sell to a hedge fund and say this works great for them, but no, it's like, how do we get the investors on this?
that's incredible. I know that it can be really daunting to look at real estate, and there's like we've said, a lot of people out there giving information and advice that maybe is just kind of vague or ambiguous, or giving a lot of false starts to places where people should look. But just kind of going through this thing and speaking with you and hearing how you're talking about it, I think this is really the true tool that somebody who's looking to have their first flip, their first rental, should seriously use to start that journey, because it really is a true for the people type tool that makes it easy, gives you the breakdown, and addresses the relevant concerns of somebody who's getting into the game.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And if I could segue with that real quick to the other page that's there, Bodie. Ryan.
Do you want to go back to the main page and then look at a different type of deal?
Yeah, the JV network. So, I get calls. So if you click joint venture or JV networks there, and I think you just hit the arrow. It shouldn't happen.
It looks like it's like a paid feature or something. You want me to hand the reins back over to you?
Yeah, sure. Yep. Let me pull that up real quick.
And one thing I would love to go over as we get into this a little bit more is, we're looking at a few different types of deals here. What I would love to, and obviously we're going a little bit high level as well with someone who might be experienced, but like Ryan said, I think this could really appeal to someone who's beginning as a real estate investor as well and is just trying to make good, solid, educated decisions. So I would love to hear from you what you would recommend for someone who's maybe getting into real estate investing for the first time and just looking for a good deal to do, like how they might navigate ROI Finder and find the right deal for them.
Yeah, it's a data and comfort game. Okay, so the best way to answer these questions is by example. Okay, and so I got a call from a gentleman in Canada, in Vancouver, BC, yesterday, and he's like, "Look, I've got like 300K. I want to buy a flip. I want to let you run it. I'm taking 20%. That's my overhead, or I'll do an annualized. And again, I don't mean to be so high level, but my point is data and comfort. Okay, and I know he's got the money, but a lot of people have money out there that aren't doing anything with it. But he's heard about me, and he's like, okay, let me make a call. And I kind of referred him to the site. I said, look, I want you to look through the site, see what you like, and we'll go from there. The point being is that for him, because he earns 2.5% per quarter, maybe on one of his aggressive mutual funds, he needs to be at 18% per year. It's data that he has and the comfort level he's in. 200K, I need to be at 15%, 18% a year. So going back to data and comfort, and going back to before I had ROI Finder and I was selling to investors, the data was the rental income that they would earn, right? And their comfort level. So if you're starting out, what's your comfort level? Are you comfortable with earning 4 or 5% a year, 6% a year to start? Are you comfortable with the fact that you're going to have hiccups and you're going to have these headaches where maybe your property manager will call you and say, hey, your tenant didn't pay, or there's a damage, or there's a repair? Make sure you're comfortable with that, right? But what's the trade-off? The trade-off is you own an asset like real estate, which can't go anywhere, okay? And in addition to that, you're getting equity. Even if the market's down this year, always think of it that way. That, excuse me, in real estate, you're always gaining. So I know that to answer the question, look at your own comfort level and how much money you're willing to spend, but also always remember in the back of your head that you're doing this because you're gaining an asset, you're gaining equity for the future. You're not looking at just today. I may get 4 or 5% today over the course of a year, but understand that in 5 years, when I hand this to my kids, my grandkids, or I don't do anything with it, I just let it sit, where the value of that property is. And if it grows 6% a year, okay, and it may not seem like a lot, but if somebody goes and buys a $300,000 property, which is your average in Orlando right now, probably more, and it gains 6% a year, okay, 5% conservatively, that's growing at $15,000 a year over the course of 5 years. That's 75K to 90K when you compound it. 5 years, the same asset. Where are you going to get that? So my advice to people is look at the data, get comfortable with it. What's your comfort level? And understand there's going to be hiccups and there's going to be bumps in the road, but platforms like this are made to be there so that you can get comfortable and understand the information and use the tools and use the data so you can be a novice investor and eventually an experienced investor.
That's beautifully said. Thank you for that. I think it's a great walkthrough as far as like, everyone's got their own individual levels of risk tolerance.
Correct.
And you also have your own personal goals. I think the same way you make any business decision, you've got to weigh both of those things and decide, am I currently maximizing my opportunity for how comfortable I am with, making decisions with my money. One thing that stood out earlier in the conversation from what you talked about is, you made some moves when you were a little bit younger and had a little bit more risk to take that really set you up for the future. So
Sure.
I think anyone in that position, if you're young and looking to set yourself up for the future, this might be when you want to take a look at getting to know things like this, where you can get a little bit bigger, returns on your money just with a little bit of knowledge and a little bit of educated process behind it.
Yep. And the older you get, you have more kids or you have more responsibilities, you can take less risks, but you can still make money. I've got guys that, which segues me to this page I'm sharing right now, that There was a gentleman who called me, and I'm not soliciting me. I'm soliciting the capability that you can do this with somebody you trust. I'm not saying me. Somebody you trust that you know is in the industry. Okay. He calls me and says, look, I have 20, 25 grand. I want to invest in those. I want to flip properties. And I said, okay, because I know I can't buy a property with 25 grand. I said, all right, but you know what? I have a property I'm buying. The all-in is going to run about 250. 25 grand equals 10%. He gave me the 25 grand. Obviously, I have a relationship with this guy. We have trust. I bought the property. I already own it. I used that 25 grand towards the rehab. 25 grand of 250 is 10% when we went and sold. Okay. And this is a very simple way, very easy way to do joint venture with somebody you trust. We did paperwork. We had terms. We said he's going to earn 10%. We sold the property and he made 10%. And our profit was maybe about 25 grand itself. And so what he earned was $2,500 in about 4 months on his investment of 25,000. So he earned 10% in about 4 months. And somebody says, well, $2,500 is not a lot of money. But guys, he made 30% annualized. 30% annualized. So there's always ways to enter the real estate market via crowdfunding, via joint ventures, comfort and data. He was comfortable with 25. He had the data which supported the fact that he's going to make this much money. And if he makes less, he's okay with that. And then he ended up making 30% annualized. And now every 3-4 months when we sell a property, he just recycles the money with me and says, okay, I want to put more. I want to put more, which segues rather perfectly to this part of the website, which is called joint venture. And so one of the things I wanted to do on ROI Finder is highlight the many opportunities that are out there like this, okay? Because they happen more often than you guys think, more often than we know. There are people all the time who say, hey, you know what? I've got a property and I need to raise 50 to 75 grand to flip this property. There are sellers out there. And the reason I mention this, I feel so bad because we'll end up buying a property from them off market wholesale, right? With our wholesale buddies. And I'm not knocking them because the wholesalers are doing their job. They're making their money. They're doing the right thing. But there are some sellers out there that are capable of overseeing a rehab, for example. And they go and they offload their property when I know that they have the ability to flip it. So sometimes I go to these sellers, I go, look, I know you want to offload it for 175, but it's worth 275. What if I'm not going to pay you 175 today? What if I give you $25,000 towards your 175 and we'll make it 185 as an incentive and another 25 grand to rehab it? And then we split the profit. We'll joint venture. And there's a lot of things, there's a lot of deals that happen out there like that. But how do you find those deals? Just word of mouth? Well, that's why we created the joint venture page, an investor network where investors can talk to one another, which is, once we're raising funds, so once we're going to try and make, that our next goal, not some other stuff, but the next goal, where you can talk to each other as investors. But in addition to that, an investor network where you can venture with one another. So here, you have this house that looks like hell in Tampa. This house was very, very, for somebody who's done 60 plus flips, 5+ years, this was one of the most difficult ones I ever did. But I threw it up there as an example for you guys today. This 17th Street in Tampa, you will see if you go look it up on the MLS or you go look it online. We sold this last week for $268.5. And so the goal of this property, we needed to raise $50K, and at this point I had raised $20,000, and it's very simple. This is just saying, okay, this is location, this is the user that went and put it up. Sorry, I'm lagging a bit here. And again, you can get your estimated net ROI based on the calculator here. But what this JV network page does is tell people, I have a property, I'm seeking $50K, and who's interested, right? That's number one. And then the opposite is true, where you can upload a listing where you say, I have $50K and I'm seeking a property to flip in. Now, the reason I mentioned this a few times is because, again, we're at we're a startup, we're bootstrapping our way, and we're at the point where we're almost there, where we're going to be able to fund these deals directly through the site, through a trusted platform, a third-party platform. But if you say, I want to joint venture with this guy, but how do I pay him outside? Do it through the third-party platform that has FDIC insurance. So when you're funding that deal, it's all above board, it's all sitting in an escrow or whatever you guys agree to, but the money's safe and secure. And that way you're saying, okay, I know it didn't just go to Tom, Dick, and Harry, but a guy that owns the property and is doing it through a third party. I don't know if I went too high level on that, though. But.
That's what we want here. I think the more high level you go, the more people can really get a grasp of like how these deals play out and how these deals work.
Yeah.
I always learn so much more from hearing an actual deal and hearing you go into depths.
Yeah. Yeah.
What would you say is the biggest thing you've learned so far, Ryan?
That I need to find about 50 grand to give to Husain as soon as possible.
We can start with 20. It's fine.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's, his philosophy of, I guess, in my sense, is rising tides lift all boats. It's a very supportive community, and it's making real estate accessible to a lot of people in various ways. And the experience and the risk that he's taken to build this and to develop his own career is evident in the way that he speaks about, what he's doing. I mean, he went from a financial institution to doing real estate, and there are a lot of lessons to be learned in that transition, I'm sure. And he's basically taken all of the stuff that has ever come across his desk and that he's dealt with and made it the most accessible and easy to find thing that I've ever seen on the real estate end. And I think anyone who's, been in the real estate game at all should seriously consider this, because your high level overview is exactly the type of stuff that we love to do on this show. And I think a lot of people enjoy hearing. That's why they tune in. That's why they rewatch it, because it's very rare to have somebody who's an expert in a field do such a crisp, clear breakdown of the process without having to pay a monthly fee most of the time. Looking at you, Masterclass. So I think this is great. I mean, what you're doing here is incredible, and this is just I'm in awe and just listening, just absorbing. I'm probably going to rewatch this episode a couple times.
I appreciate that. I'm gonna
that's awesome.
What did I say?
So, what are some of the? I think this is a really good way to kind of cap things off here.
Yeah.
What are a few of like the biggest lessons that you've learned as a real estate investor throughout your career? Like maybe the 3 or so biggest lessons that you've learned just as an overarching philosophy.
Yeah, I mean, be patient is number one. Nothing happens overnight, but that's life, right? That's you got to be patient. Till today, when I go under contract, I swear to you guys, till today, when I go under contract, I still get butterflies. Okay, that's my affection for real estate. I love flipping properties. I think I have an illness that I go into a property that's absolutely destroyed, and I'm like, oh, let me turn this into something great and spend the next 120 days racking my brain on how to do it. But you know what? I realize that every day I wake up, and I'm sincere with you, every day I wake up, I ask myself, okay, am I still enjoying this? I'm going to a property to look at it. So the second advice is, after being patient, is enjoy it. You got to enjoy it. It doesn't have to be daunting. Real estate can be a lot of fun, man. And I have seen people segue. The gentleman who called me from Vancouver is a guy who owns pharmacies. He's putting money to an MRI company. He wants to put $3 million into a real estate fund and just be chilling on real estate. You see my point? Where else can you do that besides real estate? And so it's daunting, but you got to be patient. It can grow. You can get a real love for it, because I've seen people succeed over the years. So be patient. Make sure you're enjoying it. There are going to be days that are very difficult. I have lost money on deals. I have had a duplex that I just sold a few weeks back that was making me money. But the only reason I sold it is because I realized that those tenants in that area and that particular whatever it were giving me headache. And so this is, for me, a life concept, is that if it's not making you productive in real estate, especially, and it's giving you more headache than it's worth, don't try and hold on. Offload it. You don't have to make as much money as you think you're gonna. I promise you, there's money in the next deal. There's money on the next deal. This St. Pete deal, where I'm slated to make $50K with one of my partners, man, if we make 25, that's okay, because I'm going to St. Pete tomorrow. I'm in Orlando. I'm going to St. Pete tomorrow to look at another deal that I got presented last week that says to me, hey, you're going to make 40 on that, and you'll make it up. So to be concise is be patient, enjoy it, and there's always the next deal. There's always the next deal. And it's not that hard to get into real estate. If you know the right people, it's not that hard to get into real estate, which is why this platform was created, because I want people to see that, like, look, this is not absurd, man. This is not, you can do it. Anybody can do it. Anybody can do it.
That is awesome stuff. Husain, this has been not only an enlightening conversation, but, a really informative one too. I think the biggest I think the biggest takeaway I got, because I've only really dabbled in real estate investing, but the biggest takeaway I got is that, with more and more platforms coming out like yours to be able to simplify the process
Sure.
and break down some of the perceived barriers, if you are on the fence of getting into something like this, you might as well just go ahead and jump in, because there are great people out there that have built tools to make it easy for people that are beginners or are just getting started out. So I think that's really cool.
Yeah, appreciate it. I'm very excited to be here today, and I really appreciate you guys hearing me out and ramble on about real estate.
Oh, we love it.
This is a welcome place for ramblings. We do it every week.
Perfect. Yeah, good, man. Good.
Well, awesome. Where can people find you, Husain, if they want to get to know you a little bit more and maybe benefit from your expertise and experience, or find out more about ROI Finder?
LinkedIn is there. My name is Husain. You have Husain, my spelling, Husain at ROIfinder.com. And you can email me, and if you want to learn anything, feel free, man. I'm always open book. Whatever you want to learn. If you have a deal you're doing with another partner, call me. I'll walk you through the deal, and I'll be able to help you anytime.
Awesome. I appreciate that a lot. So if you were listening and tuning in, you can find Husain on LinkedIn. That's the best place to get in contact with him. I'm going to show ROI Finder again here. This is what the logo looks like right here. Let me share my screen. This is the logo for ROI Finder. If you're looking for it, this is what the platform looks like. Again, this is for getting into real estate investing, or if you're already one, streamlining your process a little bit more. Thank Husain for coming on. If you were tuning in, get to know him, connect with him. And if you're looking to find Ryan and I, you can find us at our names on LinkedIn as well. Brody Vincent for myself.
Ryan Santo for myself.
You can also find me on a bunch of other platforms, and you can find Deal Flow Live, usually streamed on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook every week at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And Husain, thank you again for tuning in. And thank you everyone that was tuning in during the show. Let us know what questions you have as you're tuning in, whether you watch it during or after, and let us know what types of deals you want us to cover here.
Thanks, gentlemen.
Brian?
Have a great night. Thanks for having me.
Great show, everybody.
Great show. Everyone have a great night. All right. Good night. Bye.